بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم نحمده ونصلي ونسلم على رسوله الكريم أما بعد. Today the entire program is with regards to the fiqh, the jurisprudence and the basic understanding of the great ibadah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which is that of Salah. Salah in the life of a believer, in the life of a mu'min, is at the very foremost something which we as believers differentiates us from disbelief. It is a means of gaining great reward from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, a means of gaining closeness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Without salah, a person will find it extremely difficult or even near impossible to be able to gain the closeness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The famous student of Hasan Basri rahmatullah alayhi, Muslim bin Yasar rahmatullahi alayhi, used to say that if a person is not punctual on his 5 times salah, then this person cannot be close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The PowerPoint presentation, or the presentation which you are being presented with, what you are seeing on your screen, is quite lengthy. There's a lot of content to go through. So I will just basically go through the different aspects of salah, the different content which you are seeing on the first page, which is the virtues and importance of salah, upon whom is salah compulsory, the conditions of salah, salah times, practical salah, for the acts in salah, Waajib acts in salah, dislike acts in salah, salah in jama'ah, the person who comes late for salah, how should he cover up his salah, prostration or forgetfulness known as sajdatul sahw, the 5 daily salah, witr salah, jumu'ah salah, additional prayers meaning nawafil salah, and the salah of a traveler. We will go through the different content with a few extra points. However, if any questions need to be posed, then inshallah at the end of the program, then those who are listening in, they can then pose the questions. The first part of the presentation today is the virtues and importance of salah. It is natural, it's a part of a human being, that in order for him to know why he is doing a certain action, or to even want to do that action, to have the enthusiasm to do that action, then you need to know the virtues of the action, the importance of the action. Why are we doing it? What are we getting out of it? So we will first do the importance of salah. Salah must be performed even in illness. Pray while standing, and if you can't, pray while sitting, and if you cannot even do that, then pray laying on your side. This is the hadith of Bukhari Sharif. However, the ulama have gone to the extent to say that even if one is lying down on the side and at this time is unable to perform his salah, then the salah is not compulsory upon him. However, he should try his best that at that very time of salah, he should at least try and make some indication with his head, with his arms, with his eyes, so he can be able to say that I have performed, or I have made an effort to perform this obligatory duty. The next is that salah must be performed even during battle. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says so beautifully in the Quran Majid, فَإِنْ خِفْتُمْ فَرِجَالًا أَوْ رُكْبَانًا فَإِذَا أَمِنْتُمْ فَاذْكُرُوا اللَّهَ كَمَا عَلَّمَكُمْ مَا لَمْ تَكُونُوا تَعْلَمُونَ. If you are in danger, and pray on foot or while riding. Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wasallam himself, during the battle of Uhud, different battles, Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wasallam performed salah. Even during that time when one's wealth, one's life is in danger, even that time the salah is not removed from the life of a believer. So we should ask ourselves the questions that many a time when we are busy with the family, gone out to the different shopping centers, we have gone out to eat, and then thereafter the time of salah comes in, what excuse do we have we should at that time complete what we are doing and immediately remind everyone and ourselves, take ourselves to the musalla, to the masjid, and perform salah. The next is that the virtue of salah being a guide. Salah is a guide. If a person ensures his outward form of his salah is correct and his inward form of his salah is correct, then this will result in him being saved. It will become like a shield for that person from performing sins, indecency, wickedness. Verily, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, verily salah deters from indecency and wickedness. Inna salata tanha anil fahsha'i wal munkar. This is in Surah Al-Ankabut. And amazingly, under this very ayah, the Mufassirin mention that not only does it remove or save a person from sins, it also ensures that the evil qualities of the heart are removed. Because in salah, our heart is turned to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with concentration and devotion. Therefore, it is as if the inner portion, the inner part of the heart, that hate, that enmity, that jealousy, the different parts of the different evil qualities of the heart are also removed if salah comes in order. The next, we come to the next virtue of salah, that the first item to be accounted for, and this sets the scene for the remainder of the day of Qiyamah. We know that if a person is going for an important meeting and an important program, then generally what a person says in the beginning, then he will say this set the scene for the program. It resulted in the success of the program. In the same way, Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam tells us so beautifully that indeed the first deed by which a servant will be called to account on the day of resurrection is his salah. If it is complete, he is successful and saved. But if it is defective, meaning he is lacking in his salah, there is some shortness, the Fajr salah was never recited, he only performed 4 salahs in a day, then he has failed and he has lost. So if something is deficient in his obligatory prayers, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the mighty and sublime, says, look, are there any voluntary prayers for my worshipper? So with them, what was deficient in his obligatory prayers, meaning in his farad salah, that will be completed. Under this hadith, in the famous commentary of Tirmidhi Sharif, Ma'arif al-Sunan, Allama Anwar Shah Kashmiri rahimahullah mentions one very important point and wonderful point, that Allah subhanahu wa Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam here mentioned successful and saved. Normally one is you get najah and you get falah. Falah is you are successful, and one is najah, you are saved. So if a person does salah, he gets both. But what is the difference? One is that a person can say he is successful, but it means that he might not be fully saved, it might still result in his downfall. So for example, a person who has iman, he is successful, he will enter into Jannah at the end of it all, but he might have to go to Jahannam first. But if a person says he is successful and he is saved, then it means that he will not be entered into Jahannam if his salah is in order. Inshallah, by the mercy and will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he will be entered into Jannah immediately without having to go through the difficulty of cleansing himself by going into Jahannam. The next is that it is a means of forgiveness. The similitude of the 5 prayers is like an overflowing river passing by the gate of one of you, in which he washes 5 times a day. No filthiness can remain on him. It is a hadith of Muslim Sharif. And the amazing part of this hadith is that we all know that a person who performs his 5 times salah, we have heard this again and again, that he will attain his book of deeds in his right hand. This is like as if this hadith is a proof for that statement, that the person who performs his 5 times salah, he will have no worry about his evil. For example, if he performs his Fajr salah, now between the Fajr and the Dhuhr salah, he performed some guna with the eyes, he looked at the wrong, and he performed some guna with the ears, he listened to the wrong. Now thereafter he goes and performs wudu and performs his Dhuhr salah. Now that sins, those minor sins between those 2 salahs, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will forgive it, as long as he does not perform any major sins. Major sins require certain tawbah, istighfar. The next is that what makes Muslims stand out from others. I mentioned this in the beginning, that salah is a differentiating factor between a Muslim and a non-Muslim. The covenant that stands between us and them is salah. Them refers to the disbelievers. Whoever abandons it, he has committed an act of disbelief. There is a lengthy discussion under this hadith with regards to, obviously one is a person will not become a kafir, but according to Imam Abu Hanifa rahmatullah alayhi, the person will need to be locked up, he will need to be imprisoned, and only after making tawbah, if he left out the salah purposefully, then he will be forgiven or he will not be punished. But according to the other three madhahib, all of them mention that it will be permissible for the judge to pass the judgment of killing of such a person who does not perform his salah or leaves out his salah purposefully or on purpose. We should ask ourselves the question, that's how many a time a person wakes up for the Fajr Salah and says, I'm so tired today, and thereafter falls off to sleep. Or for example, a person is playing some soccer match, a person is playing some cricket match, a person is doing something with the family, and the time of Salah comes. Now, to ensure that we leave everything, we do not give anything, we do not say that Salah is below anything, we always say Salah comes first. That is the virtues and the importance of Salah. The next chapter we come to, subheading, is that upon whom is Salah compulsory. So the first is that the person has to be a Muslim. The secret ingredient is that of Iman. Without Iman there is no reward. A person will come on the day of Qiyamah with so many tons of good deeds and charity, but if he does not have that ingredient of Iman, then none of that will be worth anything. So a revert new Muslim does not have to catch up the past Salah. A person accepted Islam, there is no need for him to then catch up the Salahs which he had missed before. It was not Waajib, it was not compulsory upon him at that time. The next is that a person has to be physically and sexually mature. He has to be an adult, in Arabic known as baligh. He has to be baligh, he has to be mature, bulugh. Although Salah becomes compulsory when one reaches the age of maturity, children should be trained well in advance and be expected to perform all Salah from the age of 7 in accordance with Sunnah. The famous Turkish saying that if you do not hear at the back of the masjid the sounds of children playing, then you know you have a community, as a community you have failed. But we should ask ourselves the question that it's very important that from a young age we inculcate within the lives of our children the love of Salah and the hate for those things which are haram. If we put that love, meaning we bring them to the masjid from a young age, a little bit of noise, maybe get into trouble every now and again, but that love of the masjid is not seen as a place where a person is putting upon himself some burden, some heavy thing. Thereafter, when that child is now mature, he is baligh, he is on his own, he will be able to tell the father, he will make an effort that now I have to go and perform my Salah. The time of Salah is coming. I am missing the environment of the masjid. I am missing the performance of Salah. But this has to be inculcated from a young age. And this is something which is upon, first of all, the parents, thereafter the teachers, thereafter the community at large. The next condition which is required is that of being sane. A person who does not have is not in the right state of mind, he is unable to differentiate between the sky and the earth. Salah is not compulsory on one who is permanently mentally incapacitated in such a state for a period of 5 Salah. For example, a person is in the ICU, he is sick, he is unable, he is not conscious, then for a period of 5 Salahs. After that, the person, it will not be compulsory for him to cover up those Salahs. It will not be compulsory upon him to read those Salahs. The next conditions of Salah is that of purity and cleanliness. One should have wudu and ghusl, not be in a state of minor or major impurity. Minor means wudu is required, major means ghusl is required. No physical impurity on the body, clothing, place of Salah. Everything should be clean and pure. 2 important questions which might arise here. There are many others, but just 2 important questions. The first is that of, for example, if you are traveling and now there is no place to perform salah, the place might be napak, there is a place it looking like it is dirty, it might be impure, then to just put a cloth over that place would be sufficient and perform salah on that cloth. As long as the salah is performed on the place, the hands, the head, the feet are on places which are pure, the salah is complete. The second question which might arise is that of if a person puts some impurity in his pocket. For example, a person blows out his nose, a whole lot of blood comes into his handkerchief, into his tissue, and he has nowhere to leave it, so he puts it into his pocket. Now to perform salah in the state, we should ask our various Muftiyana Kiram to answer that question. The appropriately dressed, to be completely and appropriately dressed, to cover the satar. At minimum, the awrah should be covered at all times. The awrah for men is from the navel to below the knee, and for females, the entire body, excluding face, hands and feet. A person should not perform salah in such clothing which he would not like to be in front of others or in front of someone important with. For example, a person would not like to perform salah in a vest which leaves the entire arms open. Or for example, it will be permissible to perform salah in a 3/4 sleeved kurta, a half sleeved kurta. This would be permissible. People go out of the house with such clothing in front of important people. But it is important that for the females, especially for the females, that to ensure that the entire body, excluding the face, the hands and the feet, is covered. This is of utmost importance, especially for the females, that for the females we should ensure that everything is covered. A person nowadays, you get the long burqas, the long abayas which cover everything and do not show the shape of the body as well. Many a time, sometimes females are out of the home, they are not wearing the Islamic hijab, so now they need to perform salah and they are very punctual on their salah. But because of their tight fitting clothing and because of the amount of their hands and arms, the arms are not covered, the hands are showing but the arms are not covered, they cannot perform salah in that condition. Those salah become qada, then it becomes difficult for them. So the females should be very particular about this. And even within the home, when they are performing the salah, then to ensure that everything is covered. And the important part to take note of here is the hair on the head. The female should ensure that it is covered, that no hair is sticking out of that portion of that burqa, that abaya which we are wearing to cover, that scarf which we are wearing to cover our hair. Even the neck, the front part of the neck of the females in salah, the back part of the neck, to ensure that it is covered fully. Even if a little bit of it is open for a certain period, the salah will not be complete. So to take cognizance of this and to ensure it is covered properly. The next is to face the qibla. Effort should be made to determine the qibla direction. Now for the females within the home, every now and again to double check that the qibla is right, to ensure that the qibla is in the right direction. We can use our phones, we can try and use the old compasses also to double check it. Call some alim home, call some family learned person home, tell him, is this the right way to face the qibla? Is this, am I facing the qibla am I facing the right direction? For the men folk, there is nothing really to worry about unless they are traveling. Then if they are in the masjid, then they are just facing the way the musalla is going. The next part of the conditions of salah is that of the facing of the qibla, which we discussed. However, there are a few more important points, that if you are traveling and now, or we are somewhere where there is no to those that have their mics on, to ensure that the mics are put on mute before listening into the program. So effort should be made to determine the qibla direction. If after trying to determine the qibla, one prays then realizes that they erred, the salah will be valid. This isn't the case if no effort was made. So if we are traveling somewhere nowadays, it is made so easy for us with regards to the use of technology and compasses on the phone. But if we do not have any of that, then to see where is the direction of the sun, where is the sun setting, where is the sun rising, and then thereafter work out in which direction qibla would be. If the correct direction is shown to us during salah, we should turn. One practical example of this is, for example, now the wife is performing the salah next to the vehicle in some place while traveling, and the husband had gone into the shop to go and buy something, make wudu, etc. He comes back, he sees the wife is facing the wrong direction. In that very direction, he should say that turn to your left, turn to your right, you are facing the wrong direction. In that condition of salah, the woman or whoever is reading it should turn and immediately face the correct direction. If no effort is made to face the correct direction after being told that you are facing the wrong direction, then the salah would not be valid, it would need to be repeated. The next is the intention. We all know the famous hadith of Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wasallam, innamal a'malu bin niyyat, that everything is based upon intention. So when we are going for salah, basically when a person gets into the vehicle, he is going for salah, when the wudu is made, when the woman folk are now putting on their burqa and they know which salah is being performed, so that intention is sufficient. They know that they are going to perform the asr salah, the maghrib salah. There is no need to say the verbal intention that I am performing 4 rakats of salah for the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in so-and-so home or in so-and-so masjid behind so-and-so imam. One must know which salah is being read. And also at this time, many other intentions can be made. That, Ya Allah, I am performing the salah for your pleasure. Ya Allah, in your heart, Ya Allah, I am performing the salah so it becomes a means and shield for me against indecency, wickedness, evilness, whatever it may be. In different intentions, the more intentions we make, the more we will be rewarded. The next is that of the correct salah time. Salah must be performed at its prescribed time. This is of utmost importance. Now the question might arise that now performing salah at its prescribed time, how will the woman folk, when should they perform their salah? So the most virtuous for the woman folk is as soon as the salah time sets in, then they should perform the salah. However, to make it practical and easy for us, it should be noted and it is important that sometimes the men folk, when they are leaving salah, if the woman folk have not yet performed the salah, to make it, for example, a rule within the home, that if the men folk are performing their salah in the masjid at that time, if the woman folk have not, then to leave everything and perform the salah. Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wasallam mentioned in one hadith so beautifully that woman who obeys her husband, performs her 5 times salah and keeps her fast of Ramadan, that woman will be given Jannah. So we should try and ensure that we're doing this. And the woman folk, to have, for example, a reminder on the phone, something like that, where that salah time sets in, immediately to perform the salah. Most salahs must be covered up as qada. This is important for the woman folk, that sometimes while they are in Ramadan, while they are in the state of istihada, they might have missed some salahs. They do not know what is going on with regards to their cycles, etc. To keep track of that salahs which they must. They might have been busy very busy with the child. The salah time went out. They completely forgot it out of negligence or because of the amount of work they are involved in. To immediately cover up that salah, no salah should be qada. Qada of salah is like a barrier between us and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Sometimes it becomes a means of great difficulty in our lives. Dua has not been accepted. The next subheading we come to is that of salah times. Now we all know this, and we might ask ourselves that why are we doing this basic knowledge again and again? But it's important that the salah times are covered up, known very well. The Fajr Salah, the Zuhr Salah, Asr, Maghrib and Isha Salah, so that we can teach our children before they even go to the maktab. They know immediately that, this is the Salah times. The starts of Fajr is that when the horizontal white light appears on the horizon through dawn. It ends at sunrise. If a person starts the Fajr Salah at the time of, so just before sunrise, going into sunrise, the Salah will need to be repeated in its totality after the sunrise, 12 to 15 minutes after the sunrise. Dhuhr Salah starts after midday, ends when the shadow of an item reaches double its length, excluding the shadow at midday. These are exercises which we can bring within our life. For example, take a stick, take your children around you, show them that this is the length of the shadow. Now let us wait for a few hours and let's see when the shadow doubles, so that we can be able to know that this is the time of the Asr Salah. Thereafter the Asr Salah, when Zuhr Salah the time ends, then the Asr Salah starts. It ends off at the time of sunset. It is thus like to delay the Asr just before sunset. If a person of the Asr of that day, a person should read it. However, if a person starts just before sunset and he goes into the time of sunset, then there is no need to repeat that Salah in totality like the Fajr Salah. The Maghrib Salah starts after sunset, ends when the whiteness twilight disappears from the sky, approximately 90 minutes from sunset. The important point here the ulama mention is to have caution, because one view of Imam Abu Hanifa rahmatullah alayhi is when the red light disappears, that is when the Isha will come in. So to have cautiousness and immediately at the time of sunset to read the Maghrib Salah, not to wait. The next is that of Isha Salah, approximately 90 minutes after the Maghrib, 1.5 hours after the Maghrib, the Isha Salah sets in and ends at true dawn and completes, meaning when Fajr time, you cannot read it when Fajr time commences. However, after 2/3 of the night, it is makruh to perform the Isha Salah, and it is best to perform it after 1/3. But we as weak mu'mineen, as believers, we just read the Fajr Isha Salah as soon as the time sets in. This will be a means of great khair and barakah. The next is the prohibited times of Salah. Salah may not be performed at the following times: sunrise, from the time the sun begins rising until 12 to 15 minutes thereafter; midday, when the sun reaches its zenith, plus minus 5 minutes. There should be extreme caution in this, especially on the day of Jum'ah. The next is that of sunset, when the sun disappears in the horizon. The next is that of the practical Salah. Now, ideally, it would be best to practice your Salah in front of someone. I will try my best to explain it. The women folk, the males, to lift their hands until the tip of the thumb is in the earlobe. We explained that to the males, but this is a females program. So for the females to lift the hands should be lifted under the burqa. The hand should be lifted under the burqa so that it does not result in the sleeves of the clothing being lifted up, being lowered, and then thereafter that becoming open. So under the burqa it is covered. To lift it under the burqa, and thereafter to the fingertips to be in line with the shoulders. There is so much more modesty in this for the females as well. So to lift it, the inner part of the palm to be facing the qibla, the back part of the palm to be facing your shoulder. Thereafter, for both males and females, fingers should be straight, palms facing qibla, to say Allahu Akbar. When you are doing this, the first Allahu Akbar is fard. If we forget to say it, then it is as if we are not in salah. It should be loud enough that we are able to hear ourselves. Minimum, we are able to hear ourselves. This is important. The tying of the hands for the males, to put the inner part of the right hand on the outer part of the left hand, make a circle with the baby finger and the thumb and the 3 fingers on top of the hand. Now for the females, to place the right palm over the left hand, both being on the chest. Now being on the chest, what does it mean? To be on the chest. Where on the chest? The chest is a broad area, the beginning of the chest, meaning just where after the collarbone, if you go a little bit down, thereafter the hand should be placed at that point. So a little bit higher on the chest, not directly in the center. Fingers should be closed. The fingers should be closed, meaning the fingers should be straight, held close together. Thereafter, the standing position, the males to put their feet in a 4-finger space apart, or in a place the amount of space between the male's feet should be 4, 5, 6, not too wide, a comfortable spacing. Thereafter, females to stand with the feet close together, so close together that if we put our feet right close together, you will see that the first part of our feet that will touch is the lower part of the ankle. That will touch. So to be so close together, there should be no gap between the feet. So as close as possible that we can get together to close it together. This again is giving us the indication to the great modesty in the life of a female. The next is that of practical salah. To stand is fard. One may sit if unable to stand due to illness, sickness, weakness. A person may sit if he is unable to stand. For example, some of the females many a time in our society suffer from iron deficiency, etc. So they sit down. To sit down, if for example, if they are reading their salah and now they feel like they are going to faint, they feel weak, to immediately sit down and continue the salah in that state for the remainder of the salah. In non-obligatory salah, one may sit without a valid excuse. However, this diminishes the reward. We are standing halfway, so the reward is also halfway, 50%. The gaze should be at the place of sajda while standing. This is important. Where we put our eyes in salah, that is where our eyes will be out of salah. Many a time, the women folk forget that it is also compulsory for them to look after what they are looking at. Many a time they're only telling the men to look at the right and not to look at the wrong. But in the same way, the female should also protect their gaze and ensure they are looking at only that which is permissible and jaiz to look at. So the next is that of thana, ta'awud, tasmiyah should be recited, followed by qira'ah, recitation of the Quran. You should read Subhanaka Allahumma wa bihamdika wa tabaraka ismuka wa ta'ala jadduka wa la ilaha ghayruk. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. The important point here, they've already had a program for tajweed, etc. But the important point here is to ensure that our pronunciation is correct. Especially in salah, we should ask others to listen to us. Ensure our ghayn, our ha, the Allah is full mouth, the dha is not a'uzu, the dha is correct, the ta in shaitanir rajim is correct, the ra is full mouth. All these things are important and brings a great amount of virtue in our salah. The next is that of qira'ah, recite surah Fatiha, not to say Ameen loudly, to recite 3 short verses or 1 long verse. We should not, in every rakat, we should not try and recite only Inna Atayna and Qul Huwallahu Ahad. We should try and recite other surahs as well. If we continuously do that, it might result in us forgetting our surahs which we already know. So if we know, for example, Suratul Mulk, parts of Suratul Baqarah, even if it means 1 or 2 verses from these surahs, these are means of bringing our concentration in salah, and to know the meanings of these short surahs is also a means of bringing concentration. The next is that of ruku. To say Allahu Akbar when going into ruku, males should be straight, forming a perpendicular line with the legs. Head should be in line with the back. Hand should grasp the knees whilst arms should be straightened. Females to bend back slightly, allowing the fingers to touch the knees. The practice should be made so the tip of the fingers are touching the beginning of the knee. To recite at least 3 times whilst in ruku. Subhana Rabbiyal Azim with a dha, not Azim. Subhana Rabbiyal Azim, not Al Azim. Some ulama mentioned that if we recite Rabbiyal Azim, the salah is broken. So extreme caution in this, to be very cautious about this, to make an effort. If after making an effort we can still not get the pronunciation, that is a different story. But Rabbiyal Azim with a dha. When in ruku, one's gaze should be towards the feet. Again, if we put our gaze in the correct area, in salah, out of salah, it will be in the correct area. The next is that when we are standing up from ruku, known as qawma, to say Sami'allahu liman hamida properly, with the proper ayn, the ha. This can be followed by Rabbana lakal hamd or Allahumma Rabbana lakal hamd or Allahumma Rabbana wa lakal hamd. And there are many other du'as. We should try and find out to read these du'as. As women folk, we have that few minutes to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the home. Let us take our time and not rush. Read these different du'as. It will be great reward for us. For example, the dua of Hamdan, Kathiran, Tayyiban, Mubarakan fi, whether it be in the fard or the nafal salah, it will be great reward in it. The body must come to a standstill in qawma before going into sajda. This is of extreme importance. Something which we as a ummah are lacking in greatly, to ensure that when we come up from ruku, we do not rush to go into sajda. To let the body completely relaxed. And the easy way of doing this is to recite the du'as. Sami'allahu liman hamida, Rabbana lakal hamd, hamdan kathiran tayyiban mubarakan fi, mil'a as-samawati wa mil'a al-ardi wa mil'a ma baynahuma wa mil'a ma shi'ta min shay'in ba'du. These du'as are means of ensuring that our body comes relaxed. We are coming to the pinnacle of the salah, which is the sajda. And before this pinnacle, we need to be completely relaxed in our mind, in our body, so we can reach this pinnacle and do it properly. The next is sajda, the pinnacle of salah. Our head is on the ground in front of the greatest of, in front of the king of all kings. To say Allahu Akbar when going into sajda, the back must be kept straight up as their legs fold to lower the body. The moving of the body should not resemble that of ruku. This is important even for the woman folk. So while going into sajda, to ensure that the back is straight. It should not be that our head is going down in the sajda before we reach the position. Hand should be placed on the knees as the body nears the ground. Hand should then be placed on the ground, followed by the forehead, then followed by the nose, then the forehead, followed by the nose, then the forehead, not the forehead and the nose. There is a mistake in the slide. Prostrating position, sajda. For males, everything should be basically open. The hand should be open, the arms should be wide apart, stomach should be away from the thighs. If a tip for the females is that to mention this to the males, to show them that you're not supposed to be overweight as a male in Islam. So the stomach should be put away from the thighs, feet to be kept upright with toes bent to point facing the Qibla. Laziness is to make sajda on the top portion of the feet, where now a person rubs his feet on the ground while in sajda. This is a sign of laziness. We should ensure that our toes are also subservient to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, facing the Qibla. For females, to place hands on either side of the head with tips of the thumb in line with the earlobes. This is important. We should practice upon it. Keep fingers close together, pointing towards the Qibla. Keep forearms on the ground. So everything is close on the ground, close to the body. Belly should be touching the thighs, meaning the front part, and the legs and the thighs the thighs and the stomach are close together. The right thigh should rest on the left thigh, with feet pointing outwards towards the right. This is when a person comes up from the sajda, between the two sajdas when they are sitting. But the important part here, even so much indication by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in our Islam towards the modesty of a female, that even in her salah, she is performing it in the corner of the room, no one is watching. She can keep everything open at that time. Even at that time, she is closed up completely. Even in the sajda, she is completely closed up with everything on the floor and close together. The next is that of what should we recite? Subhana Rabbi al-A'la, thrice. Here again, A'la with the Ain should be recited clearly. When in sajda, one's gaze should be towards the nose. Here again, keep our gaze in the right place in salah. It will be in the right place out of salah. Between the two sajdas, the jalsa is the short sitting between the two sajdas. Here, the short sitting, here again, we are doing one pinnacle of salah. We are now going to the next sajda, which is again a pinnacle of salah. So to completely relax the body, the following is to be recited whilst in the jalsa position. Allahumma ghfirli wa'afini wahdini warzuqni. In this dua, we are asking for everything. If we make it a point to recite this dua, then it is as if whatever we want in this world will be granted to us. We are asking for forgiveness. Forgiveness from Allah Ta'ala results in mercy. Afini, we are asking for contentment, afia, peace of mind, peace of body, peace of everything. Wahdini, guidance. Who does not want guidance? Everyone can turn a new page. Next is warzuqni, to asking for sustenance. We are all worried about our sustenance. We are all worried about where is our next paycheck going to come from. Do we have enough for our retirement? Do I have enough after my husband, who is the sole breadwinner of the home? Will I be able to sustain myself? Let us read this dua correctly and with fervor, enthusiasm between the two sajdas. A great boon from Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam, taught to us from Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Let us recite it and we will see the difference in our lives. Males to sit on the left foot with the right foot straight up, toes facing the Qibla. To place the hands on the thighs, the tip of the fingers to be touching the knee, not too much over the knee. The females to sit on the left posterior with both feet protruding towards the right. We should practice this, for example, mother and daughter, and to know that each one is sitting correctly, and bring this within our homes, that each one is checking on the other's salah. Is it correct? Is she reading it correctly? Check on your daughter's salah. Are her positions correct? Is she sitting correctly, placing the right thigh on the left thigh and the right shin on the left shin? Females to place hands on the thighs under the burqa. Fingers should be, if best obviously under the burqa, but if it is not under the burqa, it is still fine. Fingers should be in a natural position facing the Qibla, not too close together, not spread apart. And arms should be against the body. Here again, against the body, indication towards the modesty of a Muslim female. When in jalsa, one's gaze should be towards the thighs. The next is that of the sitting position, the qa'dah, at the end of 2 rakats of salah, that last position, or in a 4 rakat salah after 2 rakats, and at the end of the 4th rakat, to sit. This is known as qa'dah, the sitting or the final sitting. The manner of sitting in qa'dah is the same as jalsa, as mentioned in the previous slide. In the first qa'dah, one should recite at-tahiyyatu, whilst in the last qa'dah, this should be followed by durood and salawat and a dua. When reciting ashhadu an la ilaha, we lift the finger and then we drop it at illallah. We drop it at illallah. And thereafter now, what is at-tahiyyatu lillahi? To go over the dua, many of us know it, but to perfect the pronunciation of it. At-tahiyyatu lillahi was-salawatu wat-tayyibatu. Assalamu alayka ayyuhan nabiyyu wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Assalamu alayna wa ala ibadillahi as-salihin. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluh. Just one part of this dua which ulama have taken out a wonderful explanation is we are sending salam upon us and on the pious slaves of Allah. If a person brings piety in his life, it is as if every single Muslim in the entire world, when they are performing salah for him, he is getting this peace, he is getting dua from their side, and the dua of a person in the absence of another is accepted. So we should bring piety. Piety has a effect not only on us but on all those around us. The next is that of what should we read? Durood Sharif, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. We should try and read the full Durood Ibrahim, like what is mentioned in the slide. Wa ala ali Muhammad kama sallaita ala Ibrahim wa ala ali Ibrahim innaka hamidun majid. And also learn the du'as. Allahumma barik ala Muhammad, the meaning of the du'as. Allahumma barik ala Muhammad wa ala ali Muhammad kama barakta ala Ibrahim wa ala ali Ibrahim innaka hamidun majid. The part to remember here is that Durood Sharif is a means of acceptance. That is why we have it in our salah. But Ashraf Ali Tanvi rahmatullah alayhi mentions that if a person learns the meanings of these du'as, Durood Sharif, Surah Al-Fatiha, Subhana Rabbiyal A'la, Subhana Rabbiyal Azim, then this is a means of bringing concentration, devotion, khushu' and khudu in our salah. We heard these two terms before, khushu' and khudu, concentration and devotion. The next is to read the next dua, Allahumma inni zalamtu nafsi ظلما كثيرا ولا يغفر الذنوب إلا أنت فاغفر لي مغفرة من عندك وارحمني إنك أنت الغفور الرحيم. At the end of every action, istighfar is a means of getting that action accepted. We are showing our humbleness in front of Allah Ta'ala, that He gave us the ability to perform the salah. We are not capable of doing it according to its right, so we are asking for forgiveness. And any dua will be made here, especially in the nawafil salah. Any dua may be made which is from Quran and Hadith. For example, in the nawafil salah, we can add for the woman folk and for the men folk as well. For the woman folk, رَبَّنَا هَبْ لَنَا مِنْ أَزْوَاجِنَا وَذُرِّيَّاتِنَا. And for example, رَبَّنَا لَا تُزِغْ قُلُوبَنَا in our nawafil salah. These are times for acceptance of our dua. The salam. Recite salam as one turns the head towards the right, commencing recital whilst the face is towards the Qibla and ending when facing the right shoulder. So to start with As-salamu, the alif, when our face is straight, and thereafter to move the face to the right and finish the salam, and thereafter bring it back to the center again, and then Assalamu alaikum again on the left side. The next is the fard acts of salah. We have covered this already, to say the takbir loudly, to recite Quran, to make ruku, sajda, the last setting. And if we delay any fard act, then this sajda is to sahu. The sajda of forgetfulness becomes compulsory. However, if we leave out any fard act, then the salah is not even complete. It needs to be repeated. For example, if a person did not make any sajda at all, he made ruku and he remained standing, then he did not make any sajda, the salah is not done at all. We need to repeat it. The following are the wajib acts of salah. If left out, we need to make sajda to sahu, the sajda of forgetfulness. To recite Surah Al-Fatiha, you recited a surah before Surah Al-Fatiha, or you recited only a surah thereafter to make sajda to shahu. To recite 3 short verses or 1 long verse in the first 2 rakats of the farad salah, and in all the rakats of wajib salah, sunnah salah and nafil salah. Maintaining the sequence of the postures to ensure and to perform all postures calmly, not in haste, with tranquility. And I mentioned this when coming up from the ruku and when coming up from sajda. Those are the 2 most important points. Thereafter, qawma, to standing after ruku is a wajib. Jalsa, sitting between the sajdas, reciting tashahud, sitting for the duration of tashahud in the first qa'dah of a 4 rakat of salah. Now what does this mean, sitting for the duration? So for example, if you are performing salah behind the imam, and we did not recite the tashahud. For reciting the tashahud is a wajib. So if you don't recite the tashahud, you need to make the sajda to sahu. But if you're reading salah behind the imam, as women folk, they are going to the haram, they are going to the masjid, whatever it is, they are performing the salah behind the imam. Now when the imam is in the second rakat or in the last rakat, our mind drifted to whether our child is okay at school or not, we are mind drafted to what our husband is doing at work during his break period, then at that time, if a person forgot to recite the tashahud, and now the imam is already saying Allahu Akbar for the next rakat, now thereafter, we do not have to make sajda to sahwi. We said for that duration, the salah is complete. To terminate with salam, salah with salam, sajda tilawa. Sajda tilawa is important while we are reciting our Quran in our salah. If we are hafidhul Quran, hafidha, she is reciting her Quran in her Taraweeh salah, she needs to perform the sajda tilawa while she's reciting the Quran. She came across an ayah which says a sajda, to immediately go into sajda. But the important point to remember is sajda to tilawa. If you miss it out in your salah, then there is no covering up for it after. Meaning if sajda to sahw was not done at the end, then the salah is complete. Sajda to sahw, qunut in witr, extra takbirs in the two Eid salahs. The imam to recite aloud in the rakats of the loud salah of Fajr, Isha, Maghrib, and softly in Dhahr. To recite softly in Dhahr and Asr salahs. The next slide. Disliked acts in salah. To read in such haste that the body is not still in all postures of salah. Turning the head whilst in salah. Turning the head whilst in salah. This is important, that whilst in salah, if a person should not turn his head to the left and the right. If a woman or a man turns the eyes only, then this is not disliked. If a person, for example, looks with the eyes to the left or the right, it will not be regarded as a makruh act in salah, or salah will not be lowered in any way. The gaze should be on the ground. However, if by moving the eyes, the person will not be getting any sun. Not covering the mouth when yawning. When we yawn, we should cover the mouth. Closing the eyes for no reason to get concentration. The best way is to learn the meaning of what we are reciting. We should leave the eyes open. Wearing a garment, using a carpet, praying in a room with pictures of inanimate objects. This is important, specifically for the woman folk. While we are in the room, there might be different big books of our young toddlers and children in the book, which have big pictures on it with dolls and pictures of animals, etc. We should try and cover these pictures, or at least read salah in another room which does not have these different pictures. The next is that to wear clothes with one which to wear clothes which one will not wear in public. As I explained in detail. Thereafter, praying salah with the urge to relieve oneself. This is important. We rather go and relieve ourselves, thereafter be at ease and comfort, and then perform the salah. It should not be a habit that, hey, let me perform my salah quickly before my wudu breaks. Let us do it the other way around. Praying salah inattentively with ghafla, with laziness. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions laziness twice in the Quran. The word kaslanun only comes twice, and or kusala comes twice, and both of them are with regards to salah and the performance of salah. Salah in congregation is wajib for males. This also applies to the females, that they should ensure that the men folk are going for salah. To give them targheeb, encourage them, go to the masjid for fajr, go to the masjid for dhuhr, asr, maghrib and isha. Push them to go to the masjid. They are tired after work, after the maghrib, they're coming home, eat a meal and going to sleep, or whatever they need to do to relax. Immediately when the time of isha in the masjid comes in, tell them, why don't you go to the masjid for salah? 27 times more rewarding. The following should be observed. The women folk should read the salah at home. This is, they will get the reward like they are reading the salah in the masjid. It is best for them to read it at home. The following should be observed. Rows should be straight. The imam and the follower should intend the same congregation. The imam and the follower should intend the same, should intend praying in congregation, and they should intend to pray the same salah. The follower should always be in the same posture as the imam. The follower should listen attentively to the recital of the imam. The follower should not stand behind the imam, should stand behind the imam. If just one follower, then on the right of the imam, his toes are in line with the heel. If the woman folk are performing salah at home with the men folk, then the woman folk should stand behind and not next to the men folk. They should stand behind, a safe space between. So the woman folk should stand behind the men folk. For example, husband and wife, they should stand. Wife should stand behind the husband, and they should perform the salah. The follower should be in the same location as the imam. Virtual following is not permitted. The next is that the latecomer is one who misses one or more rakats. The latecomer in congregational salah should not rush, join the row and commence the takbir as normal. It's important for the woman folk to also know these masail. For example, sometimes the men folk, the husband is never at home. We have a young teenage son. He is only starting started to go to the masjid. Now he needs to be explained. All this can be told to him by his mother, that if you go late for the salah, do not rush. You see him leaving after. Generally, the youngsters, they're leaving. The Jamaat is starting at 1 o'clock. They're leaving the house at 1:03 to go make the Jamaat in the masjid. To ensure, do not drive fast. Go calmly. Go nicely. Walk. Do not run. Do not be out of breath. Join the row and commence with takbir as normal. Remain standing for a moment, then go into the same posture as the Imam. Stand up as soon as the Imam commences the second salam. Complete the mas rakats as normal, how we would normally complete the rakats. The sajda of forgetfulness, I explained this a little bit before already. If a person leaves out a wajib act, delays a wajib act, delays a fard act, now what should be done? The sajdatul sahu should be done. How is sajdatul sahu done? A person sits in the last sitting, reads his tashahud, makes salam to the right side only, and thereafter 2 sajdas, and come back and complete the salah is normal. With tashahud again, Durood Ibrahim, and dua after, and thereafter complete the salah is normal. 1 sajdatul sahu suffices for multiple errors. We only made 1 sajda. Now here there are 2 questions which are important to answer. The first is that of the witr salah. If we must out our extra takbir in our witr salah, went into ruku, then we should continue the salah as normal. As women folk and as men folk, continue the salah as normal, and thereafter make sajdatul sahu. A person should not come up from the ruku and thereafter do sajdatul sahu. The second, especially for the woman folk, it's important to remember that if we make any mistake in salah, for example, sometimes this plagues the woman folk at home while they are reciting the salah. Did I recite 2 rakats, 3 rakats, 4 rakats? Even the men folk are plagued by such thoughts. If this is something which only happens once in a while, then to make sajdatul sahu. But if every single salah we are reading and we are getting this thought, then the first thing we should remember is we are reading salah with negligence. We should take this out of our salah. The second is that we should remove these thoughts from our mind. This is shaitan troubling us, and we should complete the salah as normal without sajdatul sahu. If after the salah someone informs us that you have made a mistake in your salah, you only perform 2 rakats instead of 3 or 3 instead of 4, then to repeat the salah. The 5 salahs, Fajr, 2 rakats sunnah, 2 rakats fard. The 2 rakats sunnah of Fajr are extremely emphasized. Not only emphasized, extremely emphasized. Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentioned it is better than the entire world and whatever it contains. Even if the horses need to trample over such a person performing these 2 rakats of Fajr, he should not leave it out. The Zuhr salah is that of 4 rakats emphasized, 4 rakats fard, 2 rakats emphasize sunnah, and 2 rakats nafal. The person who performs 4 rakats before the dhuhr and 4 rakats after the dhuhr will be saved from the fire of Jahannam. The 4 rakats of Jum'ah emphasize, 2 rakats of fard, 4 rakats sunnah, and 2 rakats emphasize the 2 rakats nafal salah. That is something which is not found in the Mubarak hadith of Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam or in the book of Fiqh and Jurisprudence. We should read the 2 rakats nafal with the intention of Salatul Hajat, Salatul Shukr, whatever it may be, Salatul Tawbah. The 4 rakats sunnah before Asr, 4 rakats farad of Asr. The 4 rakats sunnah of Asr salah, it's important to remember that 4 rakats Asr before is sunnah ghair mu'akkada, it's not emphasized, but the reward of it is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will have mercy on such a person. Thereafter Maghrib, 3 rakats farad, 2 rakats emphasized, 2 rakats nafal, and the Awabin salah after that can be read. And then Isha salah, 4 rakats before Isha, 4 rakats sunnah, 4 rakats farad, 2 rakats emphasized, 2 rakats nafal, 3 rakats wajib of witr, and thereafter 2 rakats nafal. Witr salah, the 3 rakats of witr salah after Isha salah wajib. They cannot be performed before the farad or of Isha. In the 3rd rakat to recite Surah Fatiha, a surah in Dua-e Qunut. Now the question arises, if we do not know Dua-e Qunut, then what should we do? We should either remain silent, or a person can read another dua. The best is to remain silent and stand for that duration. The Jum'ah Salah, better for the woman folk to read the Dhuhr Salah at home and not come to the masjid for the Jum'ah Salah. It's better for them to read the Salah at home, always more rewarding. It is compulsory for males to attend the Jum'ah Salah in congregation on a Friday. The minimum number of males in a congregation is 3. The Jum'ah Salah is the 2 khutbahs, and between the 2 khutbahs, amazingly, we sat with some ulama a few weeks back, and they were explaining to us that even the women folk should be told that between the 2 khutbahs, they should know the time. Some women folk ask the time that this khutbah is at this time, and during the 2 khutbahs, just so that they know that the khutbah is taking place in the masjid at that time, They should also make dua. They should put themselves into dhikr at that time. 2 rakats of Jum'ah Salah are prayed in a place of 4 fard of Dhuhr. In the absence of a congregation, one should pray for Dhuhr Salah. One should pray the Dhuhr Salah. Thereafter, the Nawafil Salah. We know these different Nawafil Salah after Isha or Tahajjud Salah, 2 to 8 rakats. Tarawih Salah, 20 rakats. Ishraq Salah, 2 or 4 rakats. Salatul Duha, 4, 12 rakats. Even 2 rakats will suffice for that. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. 2 rakats Tahiyyatul Masjid, Surakat Salatul Tawbah, Istikhara, Shukr Salah, Haja Salah. Traveling, Salah of a traveler. If a person travels a certain distance, 77.8 kilometers, then a person will be a Musafir. If he stays longer than 15 days or more, then thereafter full Salah is required. All 4 rakat salahs become 2 rakat salahs, and one may omit the sunnah nawafil salah during the journey, but should resume once settled in a destination. This is important. Once we are settled in, even though we are musafir, we should still read the sunnah salahs and nafil salahs. We will get great reward in that. For the woman folk, the issue of menstruation and haid, that is discussed by Mufti Basa Sahab in his program of the Haid Master Class. We should ask him. But the important point to remember, especially when traveling, to take note of our monthly cycles at that time. It has a great effect on the amount and whether we are musafir or not. We have come to the end of the presentation. If anyone has any questions, whoever was listening in, they may send through the questions. Subhanallah wa bihamdihi, subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik, ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka. The question is, what is the ruling regarding the joining of Salah when traveling? Can you delay the Salah till the start of the next Salah? While we are traveling, this is important. This happens quite a lot. So it's important, for example, while we are traveling, a person can do that in such a way where he reads his Salah time, the Salah time right at the end of that Salah time, and then immediately when the next Salah comes in. This is called Jama' Suri, where you are joining the 2 surahs. Outwardly they look like you are joining it, but in actual fact, you are not joining it. You are not joining it. This is important. However, I always tell the individuals, especially when we are traveling within our own country, especially by vehicle, we should plan out our trip in such a way that we do not have to do this. We should do it, for example, if you are leave after the Fajr Salah, read the Fajr Salah at home and then leave, or read the Fajr Salah while we are on our way, and thereafter the Dhuhr Salah. Let us not delay it too much, but if need be, if there is a real necessity, we are in a rush, etc., then to delay the Asr Salah the Dhuhr Salah right till the end of the Asr Salah, and thereafter, right till the end of the Dhuhr Salah time. For example, Dhuhr Salah ends at 4 o'clock, then we will stop our vehicle, etc., at 2 o'clock, and at 3:45, read our Salah, wait a few minutes, and as soon as Asr Salah comes in, you read our Asr Salah and go. We should not join the Dhuhr and Asr Salah in the time of Dhuhr, or the Dhuhr and Asr Salah in the time of Asr. This is not permitted, or this is not in the Hanafi madhab. This should be remembered. One more point on this question posed is, while we are traveling, if, for example, we need to get onto the plane, then it is permissible for a person to then read the Dhuhr Salah in the time of, in a bit earlier than usual. For example, we all know it as the Shafi time. This is also a view in the Hanafi madhab, but this should only be done while traveling. Any other questions that they can be sent through? Since there are no more questions coming through, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us tawfiq and make it a means of hidayat for. Subhanallah wa bihamdihi wa subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika.